All right, everyone, welcome along. So, a couple of things we should just really put in just to kind of close the loop on what we've done in the last few videos. Kind of, we took what we'd built before, didn't we? And this could be any data model that you've got, any build that you've gone through, any development that you and your organization have done. From there, we leveraged the existing functionality really of the Power BI platform. We used metrics, which is something that not many people are using. And I mean, the more I've done with them in this series, the more I'm really seeing, well, I can see why, be honest, but I'm not sure why they're not either. So let's go over it and see a couple of things I've done in the workflow as well, just to close them off, because I kind of looked and I missed some things and I really was just being dumb. And I did mention it was just kind of, I haven't had time. I've been so busy. I do other things and it's kind of never really like my list, like everyone. I've got a list and it kind of, things grow up the list as I take things off the top. And this is one of those that's just always been, it just never gets to the top. But I thought, no, I'm going to do that. So we've solved it. So let's go have a look and see what we've done. And we'll come back, we'll talk about this a bit more. Champion. So here we are. Okay, this is our app, isn't it, that we've written. Okay, and it's a nice little thing, isn't it? One of the things we had an annoyance with last week was around actually handling blanks, wasn't it? Or not blanks, sorry. It was around the handling of our numbers. So because our metrics, we've got we've got like 2 decimal point numbers. We've also got whole numbers, and it was just looking janky. And we had quite a clunky fix that I'd found that it worked and it was kind of good enough for this, but it probably wasn't. But, it allowed us to move forward. So I had a look and I thought, well, no, I need to actually find the fix for this. So I found the fix. So let's have a look. If we look at this number here, okay, so we've got a switch statement which runs through and evaluates which of these clauses is true. So what we said is is it blank? If it's blank, just return a blank string, an empty string, okay? So that's these 2 speech marks here, okay? And we said if it's a mod, so it doesn't have decimal numbers. Okay, so if the mod of it is 1, okay, which in terms of it doesn't, so it's an integer, then treat it as everything else, okay? So then you treat it as an integer number. So we can see we've got the number formatting for an integer there. Otherwise, treat it as a decimal number. So we've got that. So that works, okay? Easy, simple enough to do. And putting it in a switch statement just makes it really easy to reuse. So all you would ever need to do would be to change that piece multiple times within it. And again, it's one of the issues probably hopefully, knowing the way Microsoft's been working, we might get variables appearing in our Power Apps at some point. Definitely would help, because having to write the same thing 4 or 5 times in a measure, you're asking for trouble really, aren't you? Okay. So we've got our date formatting. This is one I've just ended up using. I've done so many projects with US, UK teams where just dates, we just needed absolute clarity. So we can go through, we can do this. One of the things you can do with your formatting of numbers in Power Apps is you can use regional filters. Okay, I really, for dates, be very careful in terms of regional presentations, because if you've got US and UK teams and you're presenting US or UK numbers depending on dates depending on the device language setup, okay, just be careful. Be my advice. The last thing that we've put in is a capability that we talked about before. Okay, I've put in very basic version of it, but you might see we've got these icons here and we could make them bigger. Okay, so we can say, well, we're going to change these, and I should probably change the helper text in there instead of view item details. Okay, but this is going to allow us to pick somebody to do the job. So we can say, well, we want this person, we can choose to save, and this will now write back into our Power App that our job applicant user, which is what I use for our job applicants, of course, is now the person in charge of average hygiene for London. Okay, So we've got this capability, and again, this is a workflow thing that we need to work through and think, is this the right thing to do or not? Or which is the right ordering for it? It's important to think about, but let's think about those things at some point. So what do you reckon then? What we've done is we've taken items that would happen across a business constantly. We've fed them all into a nice little simple workflow, and we've built a toolkit that will now enable us as a business to piece together what's happening across our business, so everyone can report and see what's happening and say, oh, this is going on, that's going on. I'm meeting KPIs in this area. We're going to fail in this area. We're not sure what else needs to be done. That all happens automatically. And that's where you just go, okay, streets ahead. Okay. We've also now got the capability where I can say, well, I'm leaving a business, I'm doing something else that's going on, and I can rapidly put it into someone else's job tree. So this is going to be someone else's responsibility from now on. That makes a big difference, because one of the things that would traditionally happen is somebody has to get involved to say, right, we're going to change this scorecard item to be someone else. Right? If someone else has to get involved now, someone's messed up. Invariably, it's somebody who's leaving, which is always a problem, but it's like, we can get this idea of saying, right, these are the tasks that you need to do. So it's part of your leaver script process to go through and say, right, who's leaving? But again, given the nature of it, I've said it's this way, we could easily make it and have a master role or a manager role that could go and override and change anything within it. So we could do that. And that's something that we've done in the past for other clients. It becomes much simpler and business managed, this whole idea, because this is business data managed by the business. Okay. What we've also shown is the idea that because you can go through and update everything and manage it, it becomes much more usable or much more business focused when you start to have those management meetings. So if you think about it, if we were looking at a specific location or a specific metric, or I had a business improvement plan, let's say business improvement. So I might say, right, we're going to target improving all the pubs in Newcastle, okay, or all the takeaways, because they seem to be the lowest areas. So we could specifically build our scorecard to look at targeted takeaways. And we could say, right, we've got 5, like 0 performers. We want to monitor those 5 specifically. We're going to do definite actions against those, okay, and track that over time. Okay, in the context of this, it probably doesn't make much sense, but if you could imagine that from your business, for your retail environment, we target our 5 lowest performing departments, our 5 lowest performing items, our 5 lowest whatevers. We can then track that improvement over time. And that's something you just couldn't do easily. And that capability of getting really granular is kind of built in, isn't it? Because Power BI with the cross function, with the cross filtering or cross highlighting, allows us to get to that number that we can then track in our scorecard. And we can then put a budget or a target item against that, which we can hard code. And we can then say, well, we want to get to, and we can track progress towards target or away from target, depending on what you're trying to do. It's all kind of just, it all kind of happens, and it's happening without anybody doing anything, but it's given you that massive increase in what you can do in your capability. Because as I say, suddenly if we were to turn around and say, right, I'm going to increase the retail of our bottom line in store X by 10%, well, how are we going to prove that? So I'd have to manually go and get store X's figures to do this, right? We can go into here, we can filter down to it. We've got, here's the figures for it. We can start that going, right? Yes, we don't have a trend for it, but we wouldn't care because we've started it as I'm going to do from this date to this date. My plan is to do these improvement activities. So, see what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what you're right, yeah. And then at the end of the improvement activities, we could leave the scorecard going and we could see, does the trajectory retain? Does it level off? Does it go back down? And there's no added workload for somebody to track that. Whereas normally in a traditional work environment or traditional metric set, oh, well, okay, we're done with that improvement activity. We don't have to do it anymore. I'm not going to be tracking it. So I'd stop. And then I'd get an AOB item in 6 months' time. It's come to our attention that it looks like such and such, or it looks like this is, prove it. I can't. I've got to go away, do the legwork, bring it back. This way, yeah, no worries, we'll go to the back of the scorecard. Ta-da! And we can take a decision there, and then what are we going to do? So it's such a different way of working, and it's fully embedded. Now, one of the things I did say is let's talk about the bad sides of this, right? What's the downside of this? Right? The biggest downside is if you choose to change away from this to a more, should we say, industrialized way of working, like a true data warehouse, it can be a bit of a pain trying to extract data from here and bring it into something else. In theory, it shouldn't be an issue, but it's one that you need to be aware of. Right? Going through, digging into the graph APIs of Azure to get the data out, it is something that Microsoft are making easier. But at the time of doing this, it's still something that you're going to take time doing. There are other options, I'm sure. We could probably sit and work this out with Power Automate Desktop or something like that, and trigger it to go through and get everything out. But it's just one you need to be thinking about, right? What are we doing with each and every one of these? And then, what's the next plan? What's the next goal? So that's something to be aware of. Okay. Obviously, as you start to embed that, you may find other changes that could just cause problems. But it's nothing that's like a big blur. Okay. Obviously, the last piece is around kind of you're going to be, as a business, probably the ones who are going to own, run, and manage this. Yeah? You're more likely to find a consultancy like Geordie Consulting who'll turn around and say, yeah, we'll help you. We'll hold your hand as you do this. We'll get you set up. And then we can, we'll be around at the end of the phone line if you need help with something or you're struggling with something. It's kind of like, we're going to come in, maybe burn 2 or 3 days of consultancy in terms of implementing it. Which, when you think in terms of doing, like, we're going to build that core data model for a use case one project that we would typically do. I mean, a use case one data model typically runs at 5 to 10 consultancy days, just kind of, finger in the air. You never know. It's kind of, each project you sit, you work through. I've done this long enough to I can gauge. So saying an extra 2 or 3 days on top of that, or potentially even if we know we're going to do metrics, everything will be planned in line with we're going to do metrics for it. The overarching piece is built, and then it slots in place, get everything documented so you can self-manage. It's one of those. It's kind of, it is what it is. From a consultancy standpoint, it's probably like terrible. We hate these. But it's actually brilliant from for a customer, because this is you being able to manage and own your Power BI solution almost immediately, and without having to massively upskill your team and say, right, we're going to do all this. And from my perspective, what it does is it helps your team slowly build their skills, which is a more sustainable way of developing a business and a more sustainable way of growth. So, as I say, if you think you like this, don't worry, get in contact with us. Yeah? Give us a call, drop us a line. It's Geordie Consulting. That's office@geordieconsulting.co.uk, and we'll be happy to take you through the next steps. For now, though, stay safe, take care. Ta-da.